Did you know that there are over 7,000 rare diseases that have been identified, and only 5% of those rare diseases have treatment of any kind? My name is Jonathan James with Hope Charities, and I am really proud to talk to you today about Rare Disease Day coming up on February 28th, and to celebrate this amazing opportunity to raise awareness for various types of rare diseases. We have really decided to do some interesting interviews with some special people who have rare and ultra rare disorders. And it is my pleasure today to bring on a very, very special guest onto the Hope podcast that has dealt with a very unique type of disorder called plasminogen deficiency. And plasminogen deficiency is an ultra rare disorder that affects less than 1,000 people in the United States. And it is a very difficult disorder to diagnose, but also to be able to find treatment for, since there's so many limited treatment options. And so today it is my pleasure to introduce to you a very special guest, Heather Beshoner, and it is great to see you today. Thanks so much for joining me for the Hope podcast, Heather.
Well, I'm so proud to be here. So thank you for inviting me.
Well, it's a real treat to be able to meet anybody who is as special as you are. You are really represent a very, very, very rare condition that is really not known to the world, probably around us. We could live our whole lifetime and not meet another person that has the same disorder as you. And but one of the things that I have found, at least in my lifetime, is that living with a rare disease is really the best part about it, is getting to connect with other people who also have rare diseases, and really the community that comes along with it. And so I appreciate you being willing to share your story and tell us a little bit more about what some of the challenges are that you've faced. So for people listening in today, maybe you could start out with just telling us a little bit about where you're from and how you're affected by plasminogen deficiency.
I am Heather Beshoner, like he said, and I live in Arkansas. I've lived here my whole entire life. I have plasminogen deficiency. I wasn't diagnosed with that until I was in my 20s, but I was diagnosed with Linguist conjunctivitis, which is the main symptom of plasminogen deficiency. And I was diagnosed with that at 6 weeks old, 6 weeks of age.
Wow. Wow. So they knew that there was a problem very early on in life, but just couldn't figure out exactly pinpointing exactly what the root cause of it was. Is that right?
That's right. Because,
Wow.
when I was 6 weeks old, that was before the internet, and there was only like maybe 5 to 6 articles about Linguist conjunctivitis, and they were all in like Turkey or Germany by the same physician. So, my ophthalmologist was also, fresh out of medical school. And I think that's kind of where, maybe he originally heard about Linguist conjunctivitis because he was, fresh out of medical school, but he had never, I was the only patient, and I'm still the only patient in Arkansas that has it.
Wow. I think for those of people who might be listening in might not know what these types of symptoms look like, but the way that it's described often in various CDC records, NIH records, and research is that it can basically develop thick, woody type growths, is what they talk about, that are really from pseudomembranes on the mucous membranes. Is that correct? Is that kind of a good way to describe it?
Yes, and they form on your like mucous membranes, like on your eyelids and your gum tissue,
Mm.
sinus cavity, like with your nasal and ears. When I was growing up, I always had ear infections, and I can't say for sure that that was the reason why, but a lot of other patients that um, have it as well also had the same ear infections, like recurrent ear infections.
Mm.
And it can cause problems in your bladder, maybe your kidneys, your reproductive system. And it's kind of hard to explain, but it's like your plasminogen is like a component of your blood, a very small component, and it has to do with wound healing. So if you have a wound, Um, there's, without being so technical, because I'm not a medical physician, um, it causes an excess of that tissue, basically.
Mm, mm. And it's interesting because very similar to a lot of other bleeding disorders, essentially you're just needing to put that enzyme back into the blood supply in order to make your blood work properly. Is that
Yes.
correct? Yeah, and so there has been a lot of difficulty, I know, specifically with even finding treatment, getting treatment being developed, and if I'm not mistaken, the way that I understand is that there was a treatment that was actually FDA approved, and then the manufacturing plant couldn't continue making it, and so people that needed it were dependent upon it couldn't get access to it for a period of time. They just recently started being able to produce it again, and that's caused a lot of ups and downs. I'm sure that caused a lot of emotional distress in the process as well.
Right. And I mean, it was only FDA approved, I think, in 2018,
Wow.
maybe. I think so. I think so. I'd have to look, but I think it was 2018. So, I went 40 plus years without any type of treatment that actually worked. I always,
Mm.
in the back of my head, even though I had gum tissue problems and, of course, the eyelid and some other, internal issues that, you may not even know you have. Um,
Mhm.
there wasn't, I always thought, I did have treatment like on my eyelids. Um, but I always, in the
Mhm.
back of my head, thought, this is more of a systemic problem. And, eye drops can only treat that one part of your body. So it wasn't until,
Right.
in my 20s that a former dentist of mine, had been doing his own research too, and tell me to have that plasminogen level checked. But having
Mm.
a diagnosis and still not having a treatment until just recently. But yeah, it like you said, a lot of ups and downs with no treat. You had treatment and then you had no treatment, and now it's back. And um, I'm fortunate that some other patients have a few more different symptoms than I do, more severity. So I'm thankful that, I could be without that treatment for until it was approved again.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. It can be really difficult. We've talked about this a good bit around rare disease days that there's only about 5% of all of the diseases identified have treatment, period. And so many people that we know and work alongside, the best that they have is just, some type of therapy or some type of palliative care, but they really don't have a treatment that is able to address this. Does it give you hope for the future, in the sense of just knowing that treatment may be available for future generations and other people who might have this challenge in the future?
Yes. And, because of Rare Disease Day, and, we also have like a small support group. Being able, social media is great because I stumbled upon this support group because, for the majority of my life, I mean, I am the only person here in Arkansas that has it. And, you feel like isolated and alone because you don't have anybody else to share your problems with because they don't understand. So
Right.
I'm grateful for that, and also grateful, for getting the word out and awareness about this disease so that, the younger generation, or even, someone my age, because there are other patients that are my age or older that get newly diagnosed. And so it's
Mhm.
great that, there's treatment, and we're trying to get the awareness out so that other people don't have to um, deal with all those trials and, countless doctor visits and hospital visits and misdiagnosed. there's hope out there for them. And we're kind of paving the way with this medication.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I think we learn a lot of lessons living with rare disease that, like you said, people don't always understand what you're facing and what you're going through. Is there any lesson that you've learned along the way that really sticks out to you, something that you wish that that you've kind of learned through the process of living with a rare disease?
um, One of the most important things is to be your own advocate. Whether you're going to your physician,
Yes.
any physician, because they don't know what this disease is, and you have to be your own advocate. Because even if you go
Mhm.
into a office and have to explain everything, for the 50th millionth time, um, it's you can't. You just have to be an advocate for yourself. And when
That's
I
so
was growing
good.
up, I would go to the doctor's office, and it usually was a medical school, so residents would come in, and at the time, I, being a kid or even a teenager, like I to this day, I don't like doctors. I don't like going, which is kind of funny because I am in the medical field, but not a nurse or doctor. But I still don't like going to the doctor to this day because of that reason. All the residents coming in, but I've gotten used to it. It doesn't happen as often now, but um, that's probably the only time that they'll see a rare disorder. So you just kind of have to
Hmm.
embrace it as much as you can, because you know the chances are very, very slim that they'll ever see a patient with your rare condition.
So true. So true. One of the things I love to ask people with rare diseases, and I think is good to think about is for you, what is the number one thing that you really wish that the whole world could understand about what you go through and what you face living with plasminogen deficiency?
That was kind of a tough question. Um, I guess just, I always felt like I never shared my rare condition with anybody until really I was in maybe after graduating college because I didn't want anybody else to treat me differently. So, like, if somebody tells you,
Hmm.
you have a rare condition or whatever kind of, even if it's not, um, just treat people with respect because you never know what they're going through. I mean, you
That's
could
so
look
true.
perfectly normal and just have like, a, thousand problems going on inside. So it's just, that's one thing is, everybody needs to treat each other with respect, and because you just never know what somebody's going through.
That's so true. It's interesting. You've probably seen the meme online. We've all seen it where it just says, "Be kind. You never know what the battles other people are facing are." And I think that that's something that's so important that we've been you know, I think living with what maybe is classified as an invisible disease sometimes is easy for people to, they don't see something externally that's really obvious that makes it look like there's something wrong with you. And so people judge for that, and people you might be having a hard day or not able to do things that are in your normal schedule, and those things are very challenging. But I do believe that living with a rare disorder has taught me empathy in ways that I might not have had empathy for others. And I love to highlight that and talk about compassion, because you can never underestimate the value of compassion when you're looking at something that you don't fully understand, and how important it is to really just care for each other. And that's one of the things I love about moments like this, about connecting with each other. You and I might not have ever had the opportunity to meet had it not been for this. And so there's a lot of negatives to look at, but one of the things I'm always inspired by is how many people are so resilient when they've gone through such incredible turmoil. And, I just really want to say thank you for being vulnerable to share your story, being willing to advocate. I know sometimes speaking up for
Mhm.
yourself is very hard to do. I know it has been for me. But, I think that one of the things that we can do as a community is just continue to get the word out and help educate people on what we're going through, but also just help people have compassion for each
Yes,
other,
right.
right? That's so good. Well, Heather, thank you so much for being on the Hope Podcast and being willing to share your story. I know that there's so much more to unpack. I hope that as an organization, we can continue to share more and more with people about what plasminogen deficiency is. And if people have any questions, or maybe you think you have this problem that has gone undiagnosed, we would encourage you to do your research, get online and do that. But you can reach out to Heather just by commenting in the comment section below, and then also sending us an email if you have any further questions. We'd be happy to connect you with Heather. But Heather, thank you so much for joining me today for the Hope
Well,
Podcast. It's
thank you.
great to see
Thank
you.
you so much for having me.
Wonderful. Well, I am super excited about Rare Disease Day coming up right around the corner, February 28th. We're going to be doing more of this, but I want to encourage you to share this video with somebody that you may know that really think that they could benefit from hearing the stories of incredible heroes that are living through rare disease challenges day in and day out. These people are really amazing, and really excited to be able to learn more about that. We need each other. We need to be able to connect. And just like Heather said, just to being able to have compassion for others and kindness for others is the number one message that we want to promote today. And really awareness for various types of rare diseases. If you have a rare disorder that you would like for us to be able to highlight and share more about, please make sure you comment about that particular diagnosis in the comments below. We'd love to share your story and hear more about the challenges that you're going through. But for now, thank you so much for being a part of this moment with us to join me for the Hope Podcast. Hope that you enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you the next time.